Making your first short video as a Blender user could always make you face a lot of challenges, and today we are going to learn how to make such scene in Blender from scratch. We will get deep down into the process of learning whatever we need to in order to make such scene. So without any further ado, let's get this going. Let's start with deleting everything. Press A to select everything, then press X to remove them. So the first thing we need to do is to find a 3D model astronaut, which we can find in sketchfab.com. So I'm going to use this 3D model astronaut. The link to download this is in the description. Once you have downloaded the add-on, head back to Blender, open File, Import, choose GLB format and find the 3D model on your PC. And click on Import. And by the way, if you ever come across with something like this, that's because our model is rigged, and that's pretty handy. So to fix this, delete this one. Again, go to File, Import, GLB. Here in this menu, set the bone DIR on temperance or fortune. And there it goes. Now select the bones, then go to Object Data panel. Open Viewport Display and enable in front, so that in any direction we will be able to see the bones. Now let's see how tall this astronaut is. So press N to open side menu. In the dimensions, Z dimensions tells us the height. So this guy is 3.55 meters tall, which absolutely won't work. So press S to scale it down somewhere around 2 meters. Yeah, this is much better. Now with the bone selected, press Ctrl Tab to go into pose mode. Then press A to select all the bones. Open pose. In the clear transform, choose all. Now we have a T-pose ready to be animated, but before that, in the timeline, press X to remove all the keyframes. Then set the orientation on local, so that while moving, rotating or animating the bones, they will move and rotate on their own axes. But before that, we have something very important to do. With all the bones selected, go to the side menu in the item section. If we take a look at the rotations property, we can see we have 4 different properties. That's because our rotation is set on quantrian, and that will make it hard for us to animate the armatures. So hold down the Alt key, open the menu and choose XYZ Euler. So it will be applied to all the bones. Now as you can see, we have the 3 main axes for the rotation property, X, Y and Z. So you can press 7 on the numpad to go into top view, select this bone, press R and rotate it like so. And also this one. So you gotta spend some time to get the figure that you want, until you come up with something like this. Now we should animate this astronaut. By saying this, I don't mean the astronaut is going to fly or walk or something like this. In fact, we need a really minor movement system for the armature. So for example, right click on this line, select vertical split, set it in the middle to make a new window. Then set the left window on graph editor. Make sure on the right side you are in the pose mode, then select this bone. And with the CTI at the first frame, press I to make a keyframe for location and rotation. Then in the graph editor, if you open the selected bone channel group, which is this one, we can see the keyframes of this bone. So the point is this: select the Y Euler rotation, then go to modifiers, select add modifier and choose noise. Now if you play, we have such a harsh movement. That's because the scale is just too low. So let's set the scale on 125 and strength on 0.2. Now if you play, we have such a nice movement for this bone, which exactly represents the fact that this astronaut is in the free space, and that is exactly what we want. So I also want this noise modifiers on the Z Euler rotation. So I can select this icon which says copy F modifiers, then select the Z Euler rotation and select this icon which says paste F modifier. And now we have the same noise modifiers for the Z rotation. And if you play, I guess it is just too much. So we can increase the strength to 200 maybe, and decrease the strength to 0.1. Yeah, this is better, but I think it is too much still. Now this is just much better. And one important tip, because this modifier has been copied from another axis, which is the Y Euler rotation axis, it moves exactly like the other. So to give some randomness, give the phase a large random number to make sure it won't be similar on any other bones or any other axes. So I changed the phase to a big random number. Now the only thing left to do is to decide which bone to animate. Then we only copy this noise modifier to that bone. So I select this bone, make sure the CTI is at the first frame, press I to make a keyframe for location and rotation. Let's see which axis we can use. So I choose the Z Euler rotation and paste the modifier. See what it does. Now you can see that the astronaut actually comes to life. So the movement is just too much. So I set the scale on 200 and strength on 0.1. Yeah, this is now just much better. And don't forget to give the phase a large random number every time you copy the modifier. And you can of course select every other rotation or location axes and paste the modifier. It is totally optional and depends on you. And you can still select this bone, move it down like so, press I to make a keyframe for location and rotation. Then move forward the CTI and move the bone up like so, and make another keyframe. And now if you play, and it will just work properly, the noise modifier won't affect the keyframes. It adds another layer of movement. After this process, you can end up with something like this. And including the fact that I only spent a little bit of time to do it. Of course, you can spend more time and even get better results. Now let's build up a lighting system. So make sure you are in the object mode, select the armature, press H to hide it for now. And you can press Alt H to unhide the armature. Now go to the render view. Then jump onto the render panel, set the render engine on cycles and device on GPU compute. Set the viewport max samples on 100. If you have a good computer, you can increase the number of course. Then set the render max samples on 500 for now. Press Shift A and in the light, add a spotlight. Press G then Z to move it up. Now go to the world panel, set the strength on 0 so that we will only have the light of the spotlight. Then with the spotlight selected, go to the light panel, increase the power until you think it works for you. Now press Shift A to add a camera. Press Ctrl Alt and 0 to frame the camera exactly where you are looking at. If needed, you can press N to open the side menu. In the view, check camera to view. Now you can adjust the camera by using the mouse scroll. And if you want to have a bigger frame, you can uncheck this camera to view and using the mouse scroll, you can have a bigger view, like so. So I close the side menu for now. Then with the camera selected, go to camera panel, reduce the focal length to 30 and frame the camera as you desire. Now press 0 on the numpad to come out of the camera view. Press Shift A to add another spotlight and set it at the back of the astronaut. You can press G to move and R to rotate it. I want this second spotlight to lighten these black parts of the astronaut. With the second spotlight selected, go to the light panel and increase the power, 400 maybe. And I'm going to give it a purple color. Something like that looks nice, but we should decrease the strength. 200, yeah, fine. Now press 7 on the numpad to go into top view. With the second spotlight selected, press Shift D to take a copy and move it to the other side of the astronaut. Press R to rotate it towards the astronaut. And I give it a blue tint color. And one thing for sure, in the outliner, select all the lights at the same time, press M to move them to a new collection, call it light to stay organized. And that is our lighting system for now, and as we move forward according to the object that we add later, we can change it. Now let's go on with making the background. So we are going to add an HDRI, which is this one, Pillars of Creation. I put the link to download it from my Telegram channel. Now jump onto the word panel on the color, click on this small box and choose Environment Texture. Click on Open and find the HDRI on your PC. And don't forget that if you want to see the HDRI, you should increase the strength. Maybe 1. Which is this one, and we absolutely need to adjust this. So in the new window that we had, change it to Shader Editor and set a type on Word so that we can adjust the HDRI. Press N to close the side menu. So select this HDRI node and press Ctrl T to bring up the mapping node and also the texture coordinate nodes. And if it does not work for you, you should enable the node wrangler. So go to the Edit Preferences, in the Add-on section, search for Node Wrangler, which is this one. So check this box to enable it. So we want to make some changes in the rotation of this HDRI. So here in the mapping node, we have the rotation property. And by making changes on these properties, we can adjust the HDRI. So I made some changes like this to end up with something as you can see here. Now I want to change the color of this HDRI a little bit. I make some room here and Shift A, search for Hue and Saturation and place it after the HDRI node. And you can change the color from here as you can see. And this one I guess is fantastic. And you can of course pick the color that you want. But this one actually matches our lighting system and it is really nice. I like it. And if I select the camera and go to camera panel and in the viewport display, I increase the pass part out to 1. So that we'll have a black margin and we can only focus inside our framing. Then we should go back to Sketchfab and search for a butterfly model. So I'm going to use this 3D model butterfly. The link to download it is in the description. So import it into the scene, then press S to scale it down. Then in the shader editor, set the type on object. So we are going to adjust the material and the color of this butterfly a little bit. So we can actually delete this one, which is not very handy. Then press Shift A and add a hue and saturation. Put it here, and I like this butterfly to be a little yellow or orange. So I change the setting a little bit. Then add a mix shader node and place it after the principal BSDF. Then add an emission node. Place it here and plug it to the mix shader. Give it a yellow color and set the strength on 3. Now select the texture node, press Shift D to duplicate and plug it into the FAC on the mix shader. If you want, you can introduce an RGB curve to increase the contrast like so, something like this. Now select the butterfly and move it away from the scene. We are going to use this butterfly as the collection of the upcoming particle system. So with the butterfly selected, first of all press R then X and type down -90 and there it goes. Press period on the numpad to set the focus on the selected object. Now we should animate this butterfly, but the point is we don't really need to rig this because shape keys can actually serve the purpose. I mean, I really like to add armature and driver to this butterfly, but for the sake of this tutorial we are going to use shape keys. So with the butterfly selected, go to data panel and add a shape key. Then in the viewport, press tab to go into edit mode. Select the butterfly body, press L to select its entire mesh. Then press Shift S, choose cursor to select it. Now jump back into object mode, open object. In the set origin, choose origin to 3D cursor. This will later come really handy while we are animating the wings. So go back into edit mode. We want to select the right wing first. So select it, press L to select the entire mesh like so. Now press 1 on the numpad to go into front view. Make sure the pivot point is on 3D cursor. Press R to rotate the right wing like so. Then do the same thing with the left wing. Go back into object mode, add another shape key. Again go into edit mode, select the right wing, press 1 on the numpad and this time rotate it upward. Then do the same thing with the left wing. Then jump back into object mode. Now if we increase the value to 1, you actually get the idea. So make sure the CTI is at the first frame and make a keyframe for the value by clicking on this icon. Then to make the other keyframes easily, turn on auto keying. Move forward the CTI about 8 or 9 frames and change the value to 1. That's what auto keying does, making auto keyframes every time we make a change. Do the same thing until you are satisfied. Now in order to make some randomness, press Shift D to duplicate the butterfly. Then with the second butterfly selected in the timeline, press A to make sure all the keyframes are selected, press G and offset them a few frames backward so that they won't have the same movement. Make another duplicate and again offset the keyframes, this time forward maybe. Making 4 of them I guess is enough. Now let's take a look. Yeah, they are just fine. Now by holding down the Shift key, select all the butterflies at the same time, press M to move them to a new collection and let's call it butterfly. Now let's set up a particle system, so press Shift A to add a cube. Move it towards the astronaut. Then with the cube selected, go to the object panel, scroll down a little bit, open viewport display, change the display as to wire. Now we can see through the cube, but if we go into render view, we still have the same cube. So go to the shader editor, make a new material for this cube, delete the principal BSDF, press Shift A and search for transparent BSDF and plug it to the surface. Now we can jump back into the solid view. So press S then Z to scale it down on the Z axis and move it up like so to adjust it like this. Then with the cube selected, go to the particles panel and add a particle system. Double click on it, rename it to butterfly collection. And now if we play, there it goes. We have a particle system, but we have to adjust it. So set the numbers on 150 maybe. That's good for now. Set the end on 1 and lifetime preferably more than the timeline frames. So I put it on 300. Then set the emit from to volume. Come down a little bit and open field weights. Turn off the gravity. Now the particles flow in space, but the movement is just too harsh. So open velocity, set the normals on 0.005. Now it is just much better. It feels like they are actually hovering, and that's just fine. Then open render, render as collection. Set the instance on butterfly collection. They are so small, so scale them up a little bit. And don't forget to increase the scale randomness. Now enable the rotation and open it. Here you can set your desired orientation. So I set it on object X. Now press Shift A in the force field at the turbulence. Move it into the cube and scale it down. And let's see what it does. Oh, too much. So go to physics panel, set the strength on 2 and increase the size to 7.5 and set the flow on 10. Now if we play, yeah, it is much better. Again press Shift A in the force field, add a wind, scale it down and place it here. And in the physics tab, Set the flow on 3.3. Now the butterflies go up at this point, which is really nice. Now select the particle cube and go to the particles panel. Come down a little bit, open catch and click on bake. Now if you want to make any changes, just delete the bake, and after making some changes again, click on bake. Now let's add the main butterfly that lands on the astronaut finger. So select the butterfly, press Shift D to duplicate it and move it a little apart. Press M to move it to a new collection, call it main butterfly. Then go to astronaut, Shift right click on its finger. Shift right click on its finger to set the 3D cursor over here. Now select the main butterfly, press Shift S and choose selection to cursor. And try to place the butterfly exactly in place. So in timeline, press A to select all the keyframes, then press X to delete them. And somewhere around here, when the hand comes up, I want to have the butterfly sitting exactly on the finger. Now right here, press I and make keyframe for location and rotation. Then I go to the first frame and move the butterfly away from the astronaut. Press I and make another keyframe for location and rotation, and it will go like so. And again I make some wing animation for the main butterfly like we did before. So this kind of will be our animation, and I think that's pretty cool. And I just came up with an interesting idea. So select the main butterfly, press period on the numpad to set the focus on it, and go to render view. Now I want to change the color of this butterfly in the shader editor, but I don't want to affect the other butterflies. So with the main butterfly selected, go to the material panel. Here you can see we have a material for this butterfly, and we also have the same material for the other butterflies. And if I change the material of this butterfly, I will also change the material of every other butterflies in this scene. So to prevent this from happening, in the material panel you can see there is a number here, which means 6 different objects in this scene have this material. So click on this icon. Now the material for this butterfly is unique, and only this butterfly has this material. So double click on the material and rename it to something like main butterfly. Then go to the shader tab. I think 0.41 is a blue color, and I also changed the emission color to this tint blue, and that's perfect. Just perfect, nothing else can I say. Then go to the solid view, and I also want to tweak the material of this glass a little bit. So with the astronaut selected, press tab to go into edit mode. Select one of the vertices on the glass, press L to select the entire mesh, press P and choose selection. And now it is a separate object. So go to the render view. So with it selected, go to the material panel and again click on this number to make a unique material. Then in the shader editor, we don't need any of these nodes. Delete all of them except for the material output. Now press Shift A and search for principal BSDF. Plug it to the surface. Decrease the roughness to 0 and crank up the metallic to 1. And there it goes. I guess this is just much better now. Now let's add some space dust. So make another cube and set it on wireframe again. Move it towards the astronaut, and we can of course make it a little bigger. Again, go to the render view. In the shader editor, make a new material, delete the principal BSDF, press Shift A, search for transparent BSDF, and there it goes. So press Shift A in the mesh, add an icosphere, move it back like so, place it here, go to the modifiers panel, add modifier in the generate at the subdivision surface, set both numbers on 2, right click, shade smooth, and scale it down like so. Then go to the shader editor, make a new material, press Shift A and search for mix shader, place it after principal BSDF. Again Shift A and this time add emission and plug it to the mix shader. Give it a tint blue color and increase the strength a bit. Now with the new cube selected, go to the particles panel, add a particle system, rename it to space dust. Set the number on 500, end on 1, lifetime on 300, emit from volume, then come down, find render, set render as to object, and select the icosphere, and there it goes. Again, come down a little bit, set the gravity to 0, and you can of course change the scale if you want. I guess we need more, so I set the number on 1000. Yes, we should definitely decrease the scale. Something like that looks nice. We go to the render view. So in the shader editor, we should decrease the emission strength a little bit. So select the icosphere and decrease the strength to 1.5. See what happens now. Yeah, I like this one. But we have a problem right now. If you play the animation, the icosphere dust is being treated exactly like the butterflies. So to fix this, go to modifiers panel and click on make instances real. It makes a bunch of icosphere objects individually. Now press M and move them to a new collection, call it space dust. Now if we play again, so now we can select the main space dust particle system and move it aside or even delete it. So I just keep it there. Now we have our space dust nicely in place. So the next step is to add a little bit of fog to this scene. So make another cube, set it on wire, and then go to the shader editor. Make a new material, delete principal BSDF, press Shift A and search for principal volume, and plug it to the volume on the material output. So it is just too dense. So turn down density to 0.01. Now let's take a look. But I like this one. And we can change the color to a low tint color. It will match the scene much more. So the last step to finish this is to adjust the camera and adding depth of field. So press Shift A in the empty, add a sphere. Scale it down and place it exactly on the glass in the astronaut helmet. Press F2 and rename it to camera focus. And at the first frame, place it on the helmet so that the camera focus will be on the astronaut. So select the camera, go to camera panel, enable depth of field. Then click on this eyedropper and select the camera focus. Then with the camera focus selected, press I to make a keyframe for location. Now move forward the CTI almost to the frame when the butterfly lands on the finger, and move the camera focus to the finger and make another keyframe for location. Then again select the camera and jump back into the camera panel. Here we have some adjustment for the depth of field. Set the f-stop on 2.5 and ratio on 2. Now if we play in the material view, yep, we exactly have what we want. So that's it, and see you next time.